Alrighty, welcome back. You're on air with Bad Chad, and today we're going to do something very basic and very simple in my mind, but maybe not to some if you've never done it before, and that's who it's for. Someone that's never ever sanded a car before or got a car ready to paint. This video is for you because I know there's people out there who would like to do this sort of stuff, and I'm just going to slow down a little bit and show you exactly what's going on. We are doing this car, this Fiero, for Jolene's stepfather, Tim. He's on vacation, having fun, and we're freshening his car up for him. It's been, beat around, trashed around for many years, and now he just wants it freshened up, and that's what we're doing for him. You know what I'm saying? It's his birthday and everything. He's taking on vacation, and we're going to help him out and put a coat of paint on the car. So what I'm going to show is basically what I do to start off to do just a basic paint job. And what I do for a basic paint job is I start with cleaning it off. And what I mean by cleaning it off is I mean by washing it. And I wash it with spray 9. And I wash it with spray 9 is because I try to remove all the wax and grease that's on the car. If you have any wax or grease on your car, your paint does not adhere. So it does not adhere. Wax and grease make the paint repel from your vehicle. So basically what I do is I always wash everything down with spray 9 first. It's just a product. It's a house product as far as I'm concerned. If you read what it says on the side of the bottle, you'll be very surprised what it gets rid of and what it does. But the reason I started using that is because when I wanted to paint something or I didn't have any wax and grease remover that I could buy from your local paint store, I did not have any, and I wanted something to clean the car off, to get rid of the wax and grease. So first thing I did is I went to the inside of the house, and what I found was spray 9, and it says it removes wax and grease, or it says it's a heavy-duty cleaner. So if it's a heavy-duty cleaner, that's what I wanted, something to clean what I was going to paint. And I grabbed it, I used it, and I've been using it ever since. If you check out the price on wax and grease remover at your local paint store and you price up some spray 9, you will see and understand why I use spray 9. Also, the car that we were trying to start, the golf car, the car for the golf course, we got fire somewhat, and we need to get the distributor off to play with the points a little bit to get more fire. So everything was going good. We got it to turn over. We didn't get it to start, but we got it to we figured out what's going on. And that's where we're at with that. I thought I'd just let you know. So basically I'm just going to wash this off. Just wash it off. This is the molding where the interior or the exterior molding on the bottom clips onto. I'm not going to worry about taking that off because it's covered. There's a ridge right there where somebody has painted the car probably a couple times and has not taken it off. We're going to sand and get rid of that. You can see how clean that's becoming or how dirty the rag is becoming from washing it off with the cleaner. And basically, if you're going to paint something, you basically should wash it all off with something that's a heavy-duty cleaner to get off any wax or grease that is on your car. Gee, that paint's turned out so nice we might not have to paint it. So you can see what's going on here. Tim has a couple pine trees beside his house, which leaves some piney stuff. I'm going to have to get another rag. I'll possibly do this again because it's extra special dirty. Jolene looks amazing this morning, as always. As always. So the very first step, if you want to paint your car, take some cleaner. You use whatever you want to clean your car, but you're looking to take off any wax or grease off the exterior of the car. You use whatever you like. I like to use spray 9 for my very first clean because it seems to work, and I like the practical price. If you want to use the high dollar stuff, have at her. Have at her. I appreciate everybody coming back and watching. Appreciate it. And you keep coming back, and we'll keep filming, won't we, baby? Yep. And if you got time and you're using spray 9, read the directions and what to get rid of. It'll surprise you. I guarantee it. It'll surprise you. I'm going to grab another rag. You can see it's getting rid of the stuff here. As I'm wiping this down, we know that it has base clear on the car because you can see the clear coat pulling off the paint there. Can you see that, sweetheart? Show that? You know what's going on, don't you, baby? Baby knows what's going on. And we must all know that Jolene is really sharp on what's going on because she films all the right stuff. She knows what's happening and what's going on. She does so. So I'm saying that I've got it pretty clean and that it's almost ready for a piece of sandpaper. And so I'm going to let you know how I sand it, what sandpaper I use, and how I do it. So if you are new and fresh and like a brand new baby, I'm going to explain to you how I do it. There's many different ways to skin a cat. We all know that, but I'm going to show you how I do it. Where this is base clear, we've got the clear coming off over here a little bit. It's peeling off. We have a ridge down here where the molding has been on. It's been painted with the molding on before. There's some areas that need work. So this paint here has got an edge on it. That needs to be feathered. And what I mean by feathered, it means that you should not be able to feel it with your finger. So if you're rubbing a car down or if you're feeling a car over or something, and you can take your fingernail and you rub over top of something, if you can feel it, you know you're going to see it. If you have a pick or something, there's a little pick I see going on right here. The paint has got pick. Someone probably fixed it or the clear's coming off. When you rub your fingernail over that, you're going to feel it or see it. So anything that you see or can feel, you're probably going to see it in the paint job. So basically, I'm saying that anybody can do a perfect job because we all have eyes, or most of us have eyes that can see. I'm getting to a point in my life where I can't see very good, but we all can see. So if you can see a pick in the primer or a scratch mark in the primer, you know, I'm telling you, you're going to see it in the paint. So if you're working somewhere, if you're doing something, well, I don't know if I'm going to see that or not. Well, if you can see it, you're going to see it in the paint. It's going to magnify it. It's not going to cover it. It's not going to do anything but magnify it. So when I'm sanding this panel off, I want to make sure, or try to make sure, that everything is feathered off. So I'm not going to feel no ridge in between the paint, no flaking going on there. And I'm not going to see any pecks. There's not, like, if I see a peck, you're going to see it. So there's paint. There's paint right here. There's a little place right here that's got clear coat that's knocked off. You can feel it's not feathered off. You cannot paint over that and expect to have a good job because it's not going to work. It has to be feathered off. So what I generally do on a panel like this, where I'm going to do a little bit of work on it. What I mean by feathering it, I'm going to feather the paint down here. The paint has to be feathered where the clear coat is not sticking along here. Yeah, there's a couple places down here. This is I'm not kind of sure what kind of material this is, but it definitely could be stripped. Tim has stripped a couple moldings on the car, and he's used paint stripper, and it worked absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. I'm not sure if we want to go that far with that. I'm going to sand that. But he took had paint on it the whole distance. He used paint stripper on it, Perfect. Pulled it right off, did not hurt the material. We probably could do that to the whole car because of the material that it has, but we're not going there. We're doing a freebie, a paint job on a Fiero to make Tim happy. And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper. Generally, when you get a full sheet of sandpaper, it's this size. I think it's 9 by 11. I'm pretty sure 9 by 11. What I do is I fold it in half. Not the length, not this way, not that way. I fold it this way. I fold it in half, and I'll show you the reason why. So this is the basic thing that I've gone over with Aiden, what I've gone over with everybody that works here. This is the basic thing. And sandpaper is a big issue when you work somewhere. So if you're throwing sandpaper away that's not fully used, you're throwing money away. And basically you want to use every piece of sandpaper that you have to do what you need to do. Sandpaper is very expensive, and you'll find out when you start buying it. When you start buying rolls of sandpaper like this, and you're throwing them on the ground like it's candy, you are very expensive, very expensive. So I got it folded in half. I'm going to do a little bit by hand, and I'm going to do a little bit by the electric DA. So I've ripped it in half like that. Pretty basic thing. And this is what I do. I fold it in threes. Just trying to measure out the same distance on each one. So there's one fold, two fold. So every time I grab my sandpaper and I know I'm going to use it by hand, that's what I do. I sand it with this piece, then I sand with this piece, then I open it up, and I sand with this piece. So you have 3 pieces there. You use every piece that you're dealing with. So as I have that like that, when I'm sanding, it's not like this. It's not like this. I don't sand like that. And the reason being, there's my fingers. We do not want to see that. When you're sanding primer, when you're sanding paint, and you start sanding like that and start digging it, you're going to see it. You might not feel it, but you're going to see it. So there's no sanding going on like this. So when you start on a car, if you're going to sand on your car, you want to paint something or do something, try not to, but do as you please. Believe me, I do not sand like this. What I do is I take my thumb, where I am using, this is a 220 grit. Generally, when I'm just doing a urethane, I use 220 grit, and then I go to a 400 grit. I try to keep my sandpaper simple. I only have 4 sandpapers that I try to use when it comes to a urethane paint job. When I go to base clear, it becomes more work, more money, more time, and a better grit. So you wouldn't want to paint a base clear job with 400. No, not even close. But where this car, we have a few issues. We're probably going to run a little primer on everything to get the best finish that we can. We have a little bit of work we're going to have to do here to feather the paint, a little work down here to feather the paint. We'll probably put on a little bit of primer to make things the best it can be, or whatever. So when I sand this car, I'm going to take my sandpaper, I'm going to clamp it between my thumb. I don't want to, I'll move that for you, sweetheart. Jolene looks amazing today. I'm going to just put it between my thumb and my fingers on it like that, so I got it held on my thumb. So I'm holding the sandpaper, and more or less what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe it. I'm just going to swipe the paint like that. And I already said, I know we have base clear on it because of what's going on right there. I can see the clear coat peeling off. But you would know, if you didn't have any clear coat peeling off there, you would know that it's base clear because of what's sanding. You can see the dust. The dust is white and clear. The car is red, so you would know that it had base clear on it. As soon as you touch a piece of sandpaper on it and touched it like that, you would know. When I am sanding this, it's nice to have a rag to clean out your sandpaper and to wipe off what you're doing. So if I got to start sanding like this, it's nice to wipe it off, wipe your sandpaper off, it cleans it out. Now, you can see, as I'm looking at that, you can see a little bit of texture on this. It's almost like there's one of the ants. You can see a little bit of texture on that. We sort of want to get that texture out to have the smoothest finish that we can get. Basically, what we are doing right at the present moment, I am polishing the paint to get it as smooth as possible. So I'm holding the paper underneath my thumb, and I'm swiping it and leaving no finger marks. I'm just going slow here. We can see that we had a little run going down the edge of the door. And that is very common because if you paint a fender, so if you paint the door, you have the fender would be here. Generally what happens, you paint the door, then you go over and paint the fender. And what happens, you put paint on here, and then when you go paint the fender, you put paint on there again. And basically that's why sometimes you would get a run on the edge of the door, done it many times, but that's why, because you're doubling up the paint on that area. Just explain that, why that happened, and it's very common. But basically what I want to do is, as I have that run on there, you'd want to sand that red, you want to sand that panel until that red's gone all the way around that little run on the edge of the door to make it, when it comes for the next paint job, that we do not look like we have a run. I've done it many times. When you have a run in something and you do not get it blocked out right, you see it in the paint again. It's that what can I say? It's that fussy. So when I'm sanding this, I don't want to just go like this, back, forth, like that. I don't want to do that. I want to crisscross it just like I'm doing body fill. I want to sand it this way. I want to sand it that way. Back this way, and the reason being I want to sand it like that is because it cross cuts the scratches, and it performs better. If you understand what I'm trying to say. As I'm sanding that, you can we'll wipe it off here in a second, and you will see that there's not much of a ring there anymore where the run is. I can see a little bit going on there. I'm going to take it a little bit further because I want it gone. That'll just make me look like I put a run in the panel. That's all that will do. So I'm just going to keep on sanding here. You can see as I sand that there, I would want to go further than that. When I sand that, I want it to go down like this. I want it nice and clear like that. But you can see over here where it's still got texture. I want to sand that completely out. You can do this by hand, or you can do it with a DA. All right, all right, now you can see this spot here, that there, you can see that, that's dirt. You want to sand that so that's like that over there, and that's a piece of dirt. And like I tell everybody, dirt's free. We're just going to sand this panel up a little bit more. I will switch to something else here in a minute. I just want to sand this, I want to crisscross it. And I'm paying attention to what's going on the panel. You can see right here that the paint is still shiny. In order to get that, that means that all the paint around it has to come down further. That's the, all the paint has to come down further to get that off. And that's why we wash the cars off with wax or spray 9 to get rid of any wax or grease. Because if you get a fisheye, that's generally what a fisheye is all about. The paint does not adhere and puddles away from it. This is not a paint, I would say it's a pick, but the paint would be not right, the paint goes away so it would not stick, so there would be like a little hole or a little crater where the paint does not stick, and that's called a fisheye. And generally, they're round. That's why they call it a fisheye. But I would say that is a pick in the paint. So I'm just going to keep going here a little bit. We'll just detect what we can detect and show you what I'm talking about as we get rocking and rolling on this bad boy. And we very well could probably strip it with the stripper like Tim did with the moldings. We probably very well could. I'm not sure if we're going that. We're not want to go that far. We're just trying to throw some paint on it to make it look better. And we're going to try to make it look the original way it was with the black molding on the side of the door. We want all the moldings to match. That's why we took the door skins off. And we're going to paint it red with a silver bottom. So we're actually doing a 3-tone paint job, but it should be okay because a lot of the moldings on the bottom can be painted with, or the moldings on the side can be painted with a satin black to freshen them up, to make them look real good. And the moldings on the bottom probably can be painted with a quick dry wheel paint. silver and then put back on. We're not sure how we're going to put them back on, but we're going to put them back on. There's many different, what I'm learning about a Fiero is there's many different clips that are used, and I actually kind of like the concept of being able to take off all the panels. I like that concept. I like that concept. Any places that stay red, you know that it has to be sanded more to get that texture. This is a 220. And I'm swiping the paint, not finger sanding, I'm swiping it. I guess just like the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. You start finger sanding, you'll have an issue. It can ruin your paint job if you want something extra special. So as I'm sanding this, I see any picks or any scratches or anything like that. You really want to try to get them gone, because if you don't, it's just going to magnify and you're going to see them. I'm going to show you where a DA comes in handy. Your car can be sanded by hand if you've got a good car and you just want to put some paint on it. Yes, it can. But something like this down the bottom here, where I've got quite a ledge where it's been painted before, and I want to get rid of the ledge, I'm going to use the DA. And the DA stands for dual action. We've got other things that DA stand for, but we're not going there. You can see how the red paint's still shiny there. I want to get it to come down a little bit. So you know this car is base clear because the paint is sanding off white. So if someone asks you to help sand their car, don't finger sand it, swipe it. Hold it with your thumb and swipe it. Just the basics. That's all this is, just the basics. I'm going to wipe that off with the rag. Wipe my sandpaper off. We can come over and take a look at it now. We'll just take a look at it. Just look it over. What I'm thinking is it's pretty good here. It's not bad. Over here, it could use a little more sand, and I can see texture a little bit. And what I mean by texture, it's still red a little bit in there. You can see where it's still got a little bit of sheen. Basically, what I like to do is I like to make sure it's got no sheen, and that way there you know you've got the texture gone, and you know you have full adhesion because you have sanded it properly, and you've got full adhesion. So we're just going to wipe that off. Now I'm going to use the DA. I'm going to take the DA. I use electric DA. And I like using the electric DA because of the fact I do not have the air compressor running, don't have to make no noise. I used to travel around to house to house to house to working on people's cars. I could take my electric DA with me, and I didn't need an air compressor. I used to do my body work with it. You strip cars with it. You can put 40 grit on there, you can put 400 grit on there, you can put 80 grit on there, you can put any grit on there you want. But I used to take it and just go house to house. That's how I first started. This is a Porta cable, and I think you buy it, it's a 6-inch, and I think you buy it as a polisher. I think it comes with a polishing, I'm pretty sure it comes with a polishing pad. I take the polishing pad off and I go to my local Napa store, my Napa know-how store, and I'll buy a DA pad that fits the thread. That's basically what I do. What I mean by DA, this goes around and back and forth. And you can picture it, if it just went around, that would sort of be called a grinder. Where it goes back and forth and around becomes dual action. So when it works good, because the dual action, it's almost like taking your sandpaper and going this way and then going that way. You're cross gritting all the time. So that's kind of cross sanding a little bit when it's doing that, that work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run it along this edge. And I'm not going to, I don't want to, there's nothing here that I'm trying to dig at or strip. I'm trying to sand the paint. So basically I'm going to try to hold this thing as flat as possible. I know that the door skin is not, I got down there on the right thing there now. I can press on a little bit. But basically I want to hold this thing flat. Basically I want to hold it flat and try to get down there. I'm going to angle it down there a little bit, trying to get that feathered off there. I'm not going to have it wound right out because it seems to work better, or the sandpaper lasts longer, works better when it goes slow. That's on a 5. It's not bad there, it's on a 4. You can see how it's shaky and goes back and forth. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to run that along that edge and try to strip that off. And we're trying to strip that off, feather it off, so when I paint it again, we haven't got that ledge. Not taking off this because I don't want to ruin the clips. So basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get both levels of paint at the same playing field. That's all I'm trying to do, is get both layers of paint at the same playing field. And how I'll know that it's okay is I'll rub my fingernail over it, or rub my hand over it and see if it's feathered right. You can see that it's feathering there now. Nice. I rub my hand over it. Can't feel it. Can't feel it with my fingernail. It's going good. Going good. Going good. Should have my rag probably to wipe the dirt away. See that I'm coming down to the thing. I've got a little scratch. You can see that little scratch going on there. It's right down to the ocean floor, and the ocean floor in this is that rubber, I would say, or whatever material it is right down to there. So that's basically why it had to be sanded down to there. I'm going to feather that off. Also, I'm going to use a little bit of primer on this. So if I have any issues with any little tiny scratches like that, I can count on the primer to fill it. And that's what primer's for. We come down this end, we can see how that there's feathered, that there's feathered. You can see I don't feel that anymore because that edge is gone. When I put a little primer on that, then I can bring it in one playing field and make sure that it's done right. It's hard to sand something like that and then paint something like that without putting a little primer on it, so you know for sure whether it's feathered or not. And that's why I'm going to use a little bit of primer. Haven't got the DA running 1,000,000 miles an hour, just so the sandpaper will work its best. Probably that's the problem I have with the drill. I probably run it too quick. Also, I could have sanded the whole skin with the DA. Yes, I can. Makes it faster and simpler. But we want to start at the basics, and that's with sandpaper, just to show how to sand with sandpaper. See how it's feathered off there, trying to get rid of that crease. There's a crease right there that's needs some work. And I'm just going over it slowly to try to feather it off. You can see there's shiny paint still left there. There's a ridge there, but this is feathered off quite nice. It's coming. We're going down to black primer through paint. We're trying to get it to the right point where it's all feathered off. And it's just where the molding was on the paint and it was never taken off, that's all. So it's actually a good thing that we took the molding off, because now we can fix or get that paint so it's feathered off. So when we paint it and put the molding back on, it's going to look good. We're not going to have a ledge there, or look as good as we can get it to look. I can still see a line going on. You can still see a line going on. I can still feel it with my fingernail. It's not done yet. Still needs a little bit more. It's quite severe over here. We're just going to keep sanding with it. Get that off. When that line's gone, probably the ledge is gone. But until then, keep rocking. If the vans are rocking, don't come knocking. And if the ledge is still there, don't stop sanding. Ledge is going over here all the way. Sometimes a person wants to start digging, but it's not good to. You just want to keep holding it flat. I wanted to dig at it, believe me. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. That's the ocean floor right there, that yellow stuff coming there. I got it on the edge of that door over there. That's the ocean floor. I still have a little bit of mark there. And that's going to be left to the primer. That's what I'm going to do. But I would say that the rest of that ledge is gone good enough, so when we prime that, it's really going to look good. And I'm going to leave that little spot there to the primer. We'll just check it over for a second. Hardly any noise. No, the old compressor's running. It does a fantastic job. The electric DAs. If you want to paint cars and don't have an air compressor that you want to run all the time, that holds the pressure that you need to run a DA, I suggest electric DA. They're probably $300 to $400, but they're worth every penny, because you can run it, and get things done that you need to get done. All the ledge is taken off there. Everything's feathered off nice, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to shoot a little bit of primer on that, because I'm not going to dig down through the ocean floor to try to get a scrape that's worked into the plastic. I'm not going to do that. That's what primer's for. Now I have this top piece up here. I'm going to do a little bit of hand sanding up there, just to continue on with the hand sand, to show you more or less how I sand it. Something like that. Just swiping it. This also has to be sanded down in here. I like to do that with a scouring pad sort of looking thing. They're nice because you can get them down in there. I will do some by hand with the sandpaper, yes I will, but it's nice to have like a 3M scouring pad or whatever. 3M scouring pad to go down in there. It's nice to know your grits on that. I'm not quite sure of the grits sometimes, what they are, but now you can see the clear is ripped off there. I think I showed it before. Let's do this. Watch this now. That's what you call a fisheye, sort of. Not sure if it's a fisheye or a pick, but that paint is lower than that level. Just like the body fill. When you see the body fill not sanded and the body fill sanded around it, you know you have a low spot. That is a low spot. It's very hard on something when you get low spots in paint like fish eyes. And the reason being is because you have to take down the rest of the paint to get down to it. So we've got, it might be a mark, it looks like it could be whatever. And I would say that this material here would be bound to get fish eyes because of the plastic or whatever the mold is made in. It must have some kind of releasing agent that would make it release and not stick. So I'm thinking that it would be very, you can see we have something else here. So if there's any wax or grease, someone painted this before obviously, and they put paint over top of the paint, so we're just kind of checking it out, seeing what's going on here. Crisscross it if you want to. I'm swiping it all over, changing my hands all the way around. Get a little bit of paint that's flaking up there. Want to get that off. And we have some clear coat stripping off. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the DA and I'm going to feather it off till that clear coat is sticking. Not going to strip the vehicle. When you see something like that, you think, oh no, I got to strip it. I'm not going to strip it. We're going to sand it back until it's adhering. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to strip it. Let's leave that there for a second. Nice easy day for me and Jolene. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on the clear coat side, because that side is lower than the clear coat. I'm going to stay on this side and try to dig this side down some before I start sanding it all. Just trying to play it smart on that part, see what happens. And if it does not feather, then we might have an issue. Alright, that's what I mean by feathering. You can see the difference between, see there's a ledge there, I can feel that ledge there. That is feathering. So it seems to be okay. Just going to play this there a little bit, try to get it down, see if I can get it feathered off. Now, you can see the difference. There's a difference there. Ledge, feather. Like what I mean by feather is that you can't feel it and it's feathered off, so it's smooth. Alrighty, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to take it up on this ledge a little bit. There was a little bit of, now we have a spot here. When you get a spot like that and you start taking your DA and digging at it, trying to take it out, like any chip in any car, you'll see some cars, you think, wow, that car's wavy. Wow, they did a terrible job on that. Probably not even half the case. It's probably where someone has sanded the car down and has dug through the paint to try to get a pick. Basically, oh, the crows are noisy out there today. Basically, so if you've seen that on the side of a car and it was all ripply, basically it can come from a DA, and that's by somebody seeing something sanding on their car and digging it out, seeing another little thing they don't like and digging it out. It does not work that way. You generally have to take the DA and hold it flat the whole way to do a nice paint job. I can't come over here and see this little spot and dig this out. Sand up here, see a little spot over here and dig that out. It does not work that way, even though it looks like that. Where it looks like that, I still have held the DA flat. In order to take that out, I have to hold the DA flat. I cannot dig at it and think that this panel is going to look good. I have to hold it flat. I have to run it back and forth and sand the panel until I get it. And if I do not, that means that I'm going to have an issue when I go to paint it or prime it. That spot there will not look that good because you have dug at it and took it off. So in order for me to make that look good and get that out, I must sand all the paint around it to try to bring it down to that level. And if I do not do that, it'll look like the car is wavy. You'll have a bad spot. Sometimes it's just as easy to sand the car down, sand that out. Sometimes it's just as easy to sand the car down and fill that. To be honest with you, like sometimes it's just as easy. I'm going to sand it down just to see if I can get it. You can see the clear coat peeling off there. But you must sand the whole panel to take it out. I'm going to change a piece of paper. And the reason I'm changing a piece of paper is because I feel like it's dull. When you feel like it's dull, you'll notice on your sanding, you will get like dust, rounds of dust that were sticking on the panel, like little balls of dust. We're going to keep rocking and rolling with this bad boy. Now, I'm satisfied with that now, that I would prime that, sand that, and paint that. I'm satisfied. If you dig at it, you're going to have something that don't look good, because you're going to go through layers of paint and you're going to make it look bad. When I did all this stuff here, you have to be very careful when you're feathering something off. You can feather something off and make it look horrible. And what I mean by is that digging at it and then feathering it off and digging at it and trying to make it look good, when you're not really actually doing a good job, you're actually destroying the straightness of your car. So basically, at all times, when you're sanding your car off, if there's a problem and there's a pick somewhere, you cannot just dig it out and take it off. Hold this flat. If you cannot get it and you think you're going down too far, take your time, take a piece of 80 grit, scratch it and fill it, and then block it out. See what I got going on there? That's why it's very important to wax and grease your car before you sand it or paint it, because you want to get rid of any wax or grease so you don't get that stuff, because that is the lowest point of the flood right there. You have to sand down the whole structure of the door to get that paint, to make it look right. If you're going to dig at it and sand it off, then you're going to end up with another issue, and the issue is not having a straight car. You can see how that's going away slowly, because I'm taking off product. Or all over the whole car door, I'm taking it off. So there's quite a bit to sanding our car off. You just don't want to sand it off and dig at things and sand them out. You'll end up not making things look good. You want to take and use the method that you do it any way you want to, but I suggest that if you want it to look nice, do not finger sand. Hold your DA flat. We get over here, we had a piece that was chipped up here on the side. I'm just digging that down, trying to feather that out the best I can. Got some marks around where the door handles were. Just going to go slow around it. Try to feather the paint down. So I guess what I'm saying, that's the basics of sanding your car down. I think I went over most of everything. Generally, if you have picks in small areas that need to be fixed, sometimes it's just easier to sand the car down, put a little filler on it of any sort that you want. I use body fill actually all the time. If you got some little 2-part putty to put in your hole, your little spot there, you could scratch it, put it on, block it off so it stays flush with the level of the paint. If you're digging at it, you're going to make a big boo-boo. You're not going to make it look nice. So the whole time that you're sanding your car down, I suggest anything that you're using, you hold it flat as possible. Do not dig at it. If you start digging at it, then you're going to see it. So we've actually got this panel fairly close to being ready. Have to sand down all the edges of the paint, and I'll do that by hand just so I don't take too much off. I'll take a piece of sandpaper here, go slowly. I like a scratch pad sort of thing, a 3M pad in for that sort of stuff. But we basically want to make sure everything's scratched down on the door skin before I do anything with it. I'm going to throw a little bit of primer on it. I would primer the places where I want to. If I throw any primer on the car at all, I'm going to throw a light coat of primer on. But this is what I would do. I would run around, I'd prime that first. I'd prime any area that's feathered first. I'd give a little shot of primer. And then if I shoot primer on the whole car, if I do that, I'm not sure if I will or not, but I would make sure that all the places that need to be fixed, I'd put a little extra primer on beforehand. So I give a little shot there, a little shot there, a little shot there, and then prime the whole door. Just to give it a little extra, a little primer there first, and to give it a little bit of help, because you know you're coming back in here. When I prime that, I know I'm coming back in here to sand that off to make sure that that little groove there that the molding made is gone. That's basically it. On this car, where it's a plastic, urethane, or whatever, I'm not sure what kind of material it is. This is the first Fiero for me. I'm sure it won't be the last, though. Yeah, I'm going to do what I have to do to make it look good, I guess. That's basically what we're doing with the whole car. Where it was not sanded here and it kind of fell off, I took it off with an 80 grit because I didn't want to spend all day in there. That's kind of a lot of hand bombing in there. And wherever it's not feathered off, I tried to get it with a DA after I sanded it. So when I come in here with the primer and do any priming, I'll make sure I prime all this stuff first, so I have some material, and then I'll prime the whole thing and then go from there. I've stuck some fiberglass on it in some places that has some chips in it, and not sure if it's the right thing or the wrong thing. I could have just used filler, but I stuck fiberglass on it because. All right, everybody, thanks for coming back and thanks for watching. It was just a simple process of how I fold my sandpaper, how to sand the car with a swipe on, swipe off, how to use a DA, hold the DA flat at all times. There's no digging anything. There's no less and less. The only time you're using a DA to dig is if you're digging the paint off and you're going to the ocean floor. And the ocean floor is the metal. If you're going to the ocean floor, sure, dig it off. 40 grit, 80 grit, and get it off there. Yeah. Come over here, baby. Let's take a look at that bad boy. I'm really excited about the car. I keep looking at it, and I like it more and more all the time. I want to get it in primer. Not this minute, I'm not going to get it in primer, but I want to get it in primer so I can really take a look at it. And it's really looking French to me instead of British. It really is, just with the lines, the small roof on it. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's. I'm very happy with it. It's looking really good. I can see it lowered down. I can see a real cool paint job put on that. Two-tone paint job on that. But anyways, have a good one, everybody. And thanks for following, and we'll be back tomorrow.